some sense there you can have weather that would be conducive to running early in the schedule. You wouldn't be close to the Sonoma event. If you're going to run at Laguna Seca, it would be best to be a long ways away, so that would seem to make a lot of sense. But I've heard no conversation about that for 2016.
I have the same here.
Okay, this is from our friend Mark at WhiskeyCast. He let me know that he put some things up online that he's adding to the Justin Wilson family fund as well, and you can see that it's on the eBay auction as well. And go to his Twitter at WhiskeyCast, and you can find out exactly what he has to offer there with everything. He just got a couple of mementos that he is going to donate to the family. So thank you, Mark, for doing that. James, Mr. James Clark, going back to a couple of weeks ago when someone asked and recommended that the car logo be changed on the Trackside webpage. Has that been changed yet? I guess it would be no. But we mentioned it was just a random car. Well, a couple of listeners have determined what car it is. It's a 1994 LaRousse Ford. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We don't do a lot of LaRousse Ford discussion on the show, but I still appreciate the effort there. Maybe there's some copyright issues involved. I highly doubt that. I think IndyCar would let us fly if we put a picture of an IndyCar on the website, but I don't know how to do that. My web skills are not that strong.
Could it be that the webmaster decided we wanted to put this to the test to see who would be the first to comment and correct them?
And it took 2 years.
It took 2 years.
So I don't think the Trackside web page is real high on the list of priorities. Although it should be. We bring them a pretty high level of traffic. We're at the very top of or very close to the top of the list for traffic, thanks to the podcast, and unfortunately, thanks to the fact that we're not on iTunes. That means you all have to go some way, some form, as I understand it, via SoundCloud and end up on the Trackside page. So we get credit for you being. I shouldn't have brought that up. If you have any questions, just send them to Kurt. Kurt wants to answer those questions. At Kurt Cabin is handling all podcast questions from now on.
Thanks for not giving out my phone number at that point.
This is an old question that we'll go ahead and address. I think it was worthy. From Mr. CMB99, do you think the punishment for Tristan Vautier was a bit much, going back to the Pocono incident when he took out Graham Rahal? If Graham were a back runner, would it have been so much? It's a fair point. If that was a race for 18th position, it wouldn't have been that much. I suspect they laid down the law, though, because it was stated specifically for this circumstance, do not screw up the race of one of the championship contenders, especially if you're not in the championship hunts.
Especially when you weren't going to make that pass work no matter what. So, yeah, it's one thing to make a mistake. Tristan, he can be forgiven for making a mistake, but it's a little tougher to accept when you're told specifically, don't make this particular mistake, and then you do commit it. So, unfortunate for Graham.
From at Pitt this time by. This is something we haven't mentioned either. We need to. Marco to F1 is a non-starter at several levels, not the least of which is insufficient points to earn an FIA super license. This was a story that came out before Sonoma. I think Marco confirmed some interest in the Haas F1 situation, and they're right that he doesn't have a license to run in Formula One, but Ferrari is involved with that team, and it's a big if, but if that team, backed by Ferrari in some sense, decided there's a driver that they wanted to be approved, they might be able to change the rules for what it takes to get a super license. I don't know that would be the be-all, end-all to crush that deal.
No, and there has been discussion about the super license criteria being modified anyway. I mean, they're not firm on that, or at least they haven't been as of the last couple of weeks. But anybody should be interested on the Formula One side of being interested in Marco Andretti. We can sit here and say we've seen his body of work. He hasn't won enough races to justify a Formula One ride, but that's not how the world works. And no matter what else you say about Marco Andretti, I happen to think he's very talented, and I think he's, in some respects, if you go back 10 years ago, he's a lot better than I thought he might be. I mean, sometimes I wondered how much Marco really wanted to be a race car driver. Well, I'm talking about when I first came across Marco. He was a young kid, so I think he's had a very nice career. If his name was any other driver, would he have had this career? And you'd have to say this is a good career. He's won races, and he's been really competitive in Indianapolis. He has a name value, and he can go anywhere in the world and racing, you know, and ready. He's certainly capable, and I'd give him a serious look if I was on the Formula One side.
If I'm Haas F1, and if it's important to get traction in America, you need to have an American name. The first, best, most marketable name you could put there would be Danica Patrick. But that's not realistic. Danica is not going to be competitive enough, and as she said, she's 34 years old or something like that. That's I don't know why it's too old, but it's too old to race in Formula One in today's era. And
To start
in Formula One, and she'd be taking a risk of giving up what she has going on right now. So I don't think that's realistic. Even though I've talked to some people in the Formula One community saying, this is a way back, that they at least consider that. They ought to at least look into that, because if you want to make a splash, that's the way to do it. I think the second biggest name is Marco Andretti. I mean, I think this is really something that they can look at. Not as your number one. I think that's going to be Romain Grosjean, is what all signs are pointing to. And obviously now Alexander Rossi has more of an opportunity. We thought that was not going to be an option because Haas was saying, we want people with Formula One experience. Well, now Alexander Rossi, who's second in GP2 this year, is going to have 5 races of Formula One experience by the time we finish this season. But America has never heard of Alexander Rossi.
That's right.
He doesn't register except to the hardcore, and a lot of even race fans probably think Alexander Rossi is European, just American race fans, your NASCAR fan. So Marco is the guy, and he's not going to win, but that second car isn't going to win anyway. And I mentioned it to Marco. I said, this is really fascinating, and I'm excited for you, but I don't want to shove you away because I'd hate to see you leave IndyCar. And what he said was, you know what? Even if I go, it's not forever. If you're a racing driver, you want to try Formula One, and then you come back.
I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he would be a good representation of a young driver in this seat. But I don't think he's going to get that opportunity. It was an interesting story that we went through at Sonoma to discuss, and he very much. See, the other thing you have to remember is, a lot of drivers say they want to be in Formula One. This is his family history. This is his grandfather. This is his father.
His grandfather has wanted him to be in Formula One from the very beginning. His dad I had a bad experience. I think his dad would caution him.
Well, perhaps, but I don't think he would say, don't do it because it didn't go well for him.
No, he would just caution him. Yeah. Just understand this is what it's about, and it's going to be very difficult to succeed. They're not going to help you succeed over there, or it's not going to be easy for you to succeed.
But you have to remember that and why would he not? But Marco really looks up to his grandfather. He really does. And if he could be anyone in life, he'd like to be his grandfather, and we all would. I think we all would. So it's in his heart to